The emperor? Oh, he was there, but mostly for ceremonial stuff. Think of him as Japan's version of the Queen of England. Lots of waving, not much real power. Historian, now imagine you're a young samurai, trained from childhood to be a badass warrior. You've got your top-knot looking sharp, your katana polished to a mirror shine, and you're ready to lay down your life for your lord. There's just one problem. Japan is stuck in a rut. The economy is stagnant, technology is lagging, and everyone's walking around with swords while the rest of the world is figuring out this whole gunpowder thing. Enter the Meiji Restoration, Japan's answer to a midlife crisis. But instead of buying a sports car, they decided to reinvent themselves as a modern, industrialized nation. Talk about an upgrade. It was a wild ride, full of political intrigue, social upheaval, and enough historical drama to make even the most jaded history buff sit up and say, "Holy crap, that's interesting." You see, Japan had been following a strict isolationist policy for centuries, limiting contact with the outside world. They were like the teenager who refuses to leave their room, except instead of listening to My Chemical Romance, they were perfecting the art of calligraphy and flower arranging. But Perry's arrival was a rude awakening. It exposed just how far behind Japan had fallen, and it sparked a firestorm of debate and dissent. They knew that clinging to the old ways would only make Japan vulnerable to foreign powers who were more than happy to carve up the country like a pizza at a bachelor party. So, they decided to take matters into their own hands, staging a bloodless, mostly coup in 1868, and restoring power to the young Emperor Meiji. Young enthusiast, now, Emperor Meiji, bless his heart, was only 15 years old at the time. Imagine a high school sophomore suddenly being put in charge of a country. But he was a quick study, and with the guidance of his advisors, he embarked on a whirlwind tour of modernization, sending delegations to study Western technology, government, and culture. It was like Japan's version of Extreme Makeover Nation Edition. Section 4, Revolution, not Rebellion. The Meiji Restoration wasn't just a changing of the guard at the top, it was a complete societal overhaul.
The feudal system was abolished, samurai were stripped of their special privileges, awkward, and a new centralized government based on the Western model was established.
It was a period of massive upheaval, kind of like if America suddenly decided to ditch the Constitution and start over. But unlike many revolutions, which are often messy and violent affairs, the Meiji Restoration was surprisingly peaceful.
Sure, there were some rebellions here and there, but for the most part, the transition was achieved through negotiation, compromise, and a shared understanding that change, while scary, was necessary for Japan's survival.
Section 5. Building a modern empire. With astonishing speed and efficiency, Japan transformed itself into a modern industrial power.
They built factories, railroads, and shipyards, and they embraced Western science, technology, and education. They even adopted a new constitution and a Western-style legal system.
It was like watching a caterpillar morph into a butterfly. Except instead of a butterfly, it was a country that was quickly becoming a force to be reckoned with.
They looked around at what other world powers were doing, conquering colonies, exploiting resources, and generally throwing their weight around.
They looked around at what other world powers were doing, conquering colonies, exploiting resources, and generally throwing their weight around, and thought, hey, we want in on that action. And so began Japan's own imperial ambitions, which would have far-reaching consequences in the 20th century.
Indeed, Japan's imperial ambitions set the stage for significant events and conflicts in the 20th century, reshaping the geopolitical landscape in ways that are still felt today.